Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Very few circuits strike the fear into the drivers with just a mere mention of its name. Perhaps Monaco, or maybe the Nordschleife, but most certainly the location for round 3 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior Championship, and that is Mount Panorama, or Bathurst as it's more commonly known. The track spans just over 3.8 miles and has officially 23 corners. In fact, this track is so infamously tricky that turn 1 has got the moniker Hell Corner. Overtaking opportunities might be at a premium tonight, but danger most certainly is. The hard concrete barriers never more than a car's width away from the track, and that's before you even add into the mix of the elevation changes. Each lap our drivers will rise and fall just over 500 feet, so it's easy to see why some drivers have nicknamed Bathurst Monaco on a mountain. With qualifying underway, all that's left for me to do is introduce your commentary team for tonight. My name is Sebastian Boscher Williams. In the virtual production booth, we have the wonderful Jonathan Grabowski, but alongside me is Steve Ray. Welcome once again to the commentary booth, Steve. Now, after the frantic race that we saw 1 week ago at Barber, how do you think, are we going to see the same race tonight? Is it going to live up to our expectations, even though that we're on such a drastically different circuit to Barber Motorsports Park?
Oh, it'll live up to your expectations. It'll just be a little different race. A lot more draft. You got the really long straights, the Conrad straight in the back, and the mountain straight on the front. So a lot more drafting, but said you throw those concrete walls in the mix, and it's going to live up to expectations. It's going to be an exciting one. You don't want to step out of line here, or it's going to reach up and smack you.
It most certainly will. Qualifying underway at the moment. Everybody's starting to get their first laps underway, and if at any circuit qualifying is really important, it's got to be at Bathurst, hasn't it? There's not, as I said, not too many overtaking opportunities on the circuit, and then even if you can overtake, it's still very difficult to survive lap 1 around here. So qualifying very much going to be the order of the game, I think, in today's race.
Yeah, they really are going to try to get themselves up front and get something good to start with. If they make it through Hell's Corner to begin with, last time we were here, we had a little mix up there. But then you got that mountain straight to right here, and did a little bit of draft, but again, first lap, cold tires going into the quarry, turn 2 is going to be touch and go, and then it's get in single file to go up the mountain, go across all the way down through Forest Elbows, and then you can start drafting and passing again on that back straight.
It's a really interesting point that you bring up, how there's sort of almost 3 sections to the track. There's the sector 1 where you can overtake, sector 2 when it's all about follow the car ahead, don't make any moves and just survive, and then sector 3 is once again where you can start to overtake. Sort of in the same vein, how do you think the drivers are going to approach qualifying? Are they going to slowly build themselves up and only really try and get the maximum out of the car on their final attempt, or do you think these drivers are so in tune with their machinery that they can go out and push to, 100% on their first or second flying lap?
Pushing early on to try to get what they can. They're also going to need a draft partner for those 2 main straights I was talking about. If you don't have a draft partner, you're going to be left behind on that part of the track.
Is that something that the drivers pre-arrange before? Do they sort of, almost like they're going on a field trip, they find a buddy, or is it all about spur of the moment thing? And is there a little bit of friendly games between them when if somebody gets the slipstream, they give it back?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Sure, you help somebody and they're going to expect you to return the favor if you get a good lap out of it. You've got a few teammates that are going to help each other and take turns leading and pulling each other around. And then some of it is just kind of left to chance, is who you're behind and who you end up on track with at that time. And it may or may not always work. You start off with somebody that you've practiced with and set up, and then halfway through qualifying, one of you goes off, hits a concrete wall, you get to start all over, and you've lost your partner, so you got to find somebody else.
Is a really good point. It is very much the perils of qualifying around Mount Panorama. Currently, Marco Pinheiro, though he is the master of qualifying, currently finds himself on provisional pole. The 2-minute 25.49, so 0.03 of a second quicker than Yang Ji Lin, driver in second place. Pinheiro, the only driver, in fact, is going for his second pole position. Will it be 3 different pole sitters in 3 weeks, or will we have a repeat pole sitter? I wonder. Jason Green, though, currently finds himself in 9th overall, 6th in class, coming around the final corner, turn 23, Murray's corner, crosses the line to start his next lap. He has got a car ahead of him, so that will help in terms of giving him a little bit of a slipstream. There's a car just, I thought he was coming out of the pits, but decides in fact to return back, because there's tire marks there on the outside as you head towards Skyline. And that's a really tricky sector, as we see the 22 of Wager actually hitting the wall. That will invalidate his lap. But Skyline, that as you rise up to the top of the hill, that's a deceptively tricky corner. I'm surprised we haven't seen Steve Moore drivers full foul of the corner in qualifying.
Yeah, I just said right there's another one. But you're right, Skyline, it's some pretty tight S's, and it tightens up and loosens up, and you've got to really watch it going through there. We've got Lynn has split the teammates so far, Pinheiro and Naselli, like you were mentioning. Lynn would need to top Pinheiro to get a third new pole sitter this season so far. He's right there. The Masters, Reese, Antonio Reese just popped up the top. The old guy's still showing they can do it. We go all the way down to 14th for the Spec 2 leader, Lesnoy. It's getting interesting out there.
Interestingly, Reese, I don't think had a slipstream on that lap, or maybe he's very quickly or very quick to give the slipstream to the car, because it looked like there was a car following Reese rather than Reese following another car. As you see there, it's the number 30 who is currently tailing Antonio Reese. Very interesting Indeed. I
Yeah.
tell you what, while qualifying is just about sort of boiling up to its conclusion, Steve, would you like to take us through our current points, just to give the viewers an idea of where the championship stands as we head into round 3?
Sure, we got Mauricio Naselli that's on top. He's got a pretty big lead already after 2 rounds. Jason Green is being a big surprise this season. He's fairly new to the league, and he's popped right up in there with very good consistency. Steven Elson third, Flavio Andala hanging tight in 4th, Marco Nero there in 5th. Megan Overstreet, another new one to the series. She's doing really good this season, popping up there in 6th. Yori Cox at 7th, Youngsi Lin in 8th. Expect him to pop on up as he gets some more races under his belt. You see he's only got 1, everybody else has 2. Jeff Richer 9th, and Felix Samo rounding out the top 10. In the Spec 2, we're looking at Andrea Favini has got the top position there, but only by about 12 points. That could change easily this week. Kuzma Lesnoy hanging tough with 132, just 12 points behind. Like I said, Elaine McCain hanging tight also, and we a little drop off. Christopher L. Smith, Joshua Justice, a fairly new one also to the league. He races the real world spec racer with FCCA. Philip Berry, Gary Wolbolt, Paul Jackson, and Ian Gibson, and Yarbus Delago rounding out our top 10. Masters, my favorite. Jorg Mani up top with 148 points. He's also about 3rd overall, I believe. The new promotee to the Masters this season from Spec 1 last season. Chris Murakami, everybody knows he's always right up there. Miro Haraski is only 4 points back. Then we drop a few points to Adam Bradshaw. Tom Gradwell, our favorite Oz driver from Australia. Jim Brewster, he won't be here today. He is actually at the runoffs at VIR for SCCA. Marcus Burkett, Stephen Mitchell, Antonio Reese. This is where we start dropping down to the guys with only 1 race. Andrew Love, he was also at the runoffs in VIR, and Kenneth Batley.
Thank you very much, Steve. So, points very much up for grabs today. Tell you what, very much if you are Antonio Reese, and Reese at the top of the qualifying standings. He has the lap time to beat a 2-minute 25.489. Pinero is out on the track. He potentially could improve. So is Naselli. Lin, however, is not out on the circuit, so he will not improve. 3rd is the best place he will finish. Right behind Reese, in fact, we've got 2 drivers going side by side, very much forgetting what session they are in. It's qualifying. Pinero, though, heads to the top of the timing stanza. 25.318. Pinero retakes his provisional pole, and all eyes once again will fall on Antonio Reese. Can he improve? Can he claim a pole position from Pinero? Will Pinero be the first driver this season to get 2 poles? Oh, big crash in the background there. That was Burkett, and was it Elson involved? I didn't quite catch the other driver. It wasn't Elson, no, he's still very much on the track, but that has scuppered everybody's final, certainly Marcus Burkett's final attempt. But Steve Pinero looking very, very good for his 2nd pole position of the season.
Marco's looking strong again. Said him and Naselli, his teammate, right up there in 4th as well. So Antonio and Youngsi Lin split the 2 teammates.
I mean, he's done a supreme job. In fact, both of them have. Qualifying very much now coming to an end. A few drivers still out on the circuit, seeing if they can improve on their times. Bobby West just heading down the Comrock Straight towards the King, one of the fastest, or I think the fastest touring car or corner that the many TCR cars will drive in their seasons. It's flat out really difficult to get right, as we just see him now head down towards the final corner, Murray's corner. And Steve, this is a deceptively tricky corner. The curve is so high on the inside. West navigates it well, but a hot spot for action normally during a race.
It is, yeah. That outside curb will pick him up and kick him around and send him to the inside wall. It's happened many times in our races. So that is a corner you're trying so hard to get a good drive off of it, and some guys just overdo it and get a little too far out, and then it kicks them around.
We see Murakami, the only driver I think left out on the circuit. I don't know about you, Steve, but I'm not quite sure if Murakami actually managed to start a lap. Actually, I don't think he did. So Murakami's almost.
Just a little extra time. Yep, just a little more familiarity.
And as a driver, how much does that help you in the race? Is it a real big benefit to you, or is it just, every little bit counts?
To a certain point, the guys that get all the practice, the qualifying in, that's about all you're going to get. And then it's more important to run with somebody usually in the later steps in practice to know what you got and who can you run with, who do you stay away from, that sort of thing. Chris just gets some extra track time, which it might see a little bit of the track temperature difference. That being said, all of our sessions are different times of the day. Practice 8 in the morning, 11 in the morning for qualifying, and 1 p.m. for the race. So there will be some differences.
Here is your grid. And once again, Steve, why don't you do the honors of taking us through the grid for today's race?
I would be honored to. Marco Pinero gets another pole position to start off round 3 with 225.318 for the pole. Antonio Reese, our leading Masters driver, right behind him, 0.17 difference. Youngsi Lin kicks off the second row right behind Pinero. Mauricio Naselli on his outside right behind Antonio. Jorg Manny, the second Masters driver there on the inside of the third row. Chris Murakami on his outside. Felix Samos has the next row with Simon Mayer. Jason Green and Jesus Rodriguez follow up the next row, row 5. Megan Overstreet's good qualifying from her with Mira Horaski on her outside. Then we kick down to Jeff Richer with Bobby West. 15th position will go to Matthias Weiger and Kuzma Lesnoy. Kurt Nunez, another Masters driver with Elaine McCain, a S2 driver on his outside. Kane Lasky, one of our new drivers in the series, pops up in 19th, and that's why you don't see a color on his number. He is number 09, which puts him in the Spec 1. He will be a red one next season, or next week. Mark Carter on his outside. Steve Elson, Spec 1, with Marcus Burkett on his outside. Andrea Favini with Aaron Vagley on his outside. Our favorite Oz driver, Tom Gradwell, with Ian Gibson on his outside. Jarvis Delago and Jerry McAreevy from Scotland on his outside. We get back to another Masters, Ken Batley with Brian D. Short. Brian is a first responder fireman, by the way, somebody to really thank. Bob Kern, another favorite. He's been around a long time with Michael Nelson on his outside, all Masters row. Joshua Justice, as I said, a real-life spec racer driver with SCCA, with Paul Jackson on his outside. Stephen Mitchell and Jeff Cantor, another Masters row right there for 36th place. That's all. We keep going with, I thought that was the end of it, but it's not, obviously. We have Gary Wobolt and Andreas Petroni. I am not there. Evandra Dantes, Bakusa, and Patrick Maher.
Those 4 drivers yet to take the start, but here we go, round 3, very much underway. Pinero gets a great start. Lynn follows as well, manages to get his way past Antonio Reese. Huge incident though, coming out of the final corner, Murray's corner, the 922 car there. That's Ken Batley. Heavy front end damage as we see. Well, some very sad looking Spec 4 racers find their way through the final corner. This is for the lead though. Lynn on the inside pulls ahead of Marco Pinero. Pinero now down to second place. Reese having a little bit of a look into turn to Quarry corner, can't find a way through. So it is Lynn from Pinero, from Reese, from Marnie, your top four. In fact, 2 by 2 they go in class. Fritzscher and Overstreet. Overstreet on the outside. Fritzscher sending it down the inside. Makes her way, I should say. Fritzscher makes his way up into 10th place. Overstreet down to 11th place as we head up the hill. We continue to rise up before we get to Skyline, and then we drop it. We drop down as Steve, this is the start of the race from the back of the grid. Talk us through what exactly happened.
You'll have to do that for me. I don't apparently have that camera.
So we're seeing a spin in the midfield section, and then the 916 car of Bob Kern, very much the unfortunate bystander. So it looks like somebody just lit the tyres up a little bit too eagerly. Lynn, what has happened to Lynn, the race leader? Oh, he's spun coming down the drop. He's facing backwards. He's seeing his race chances fall away, and he has to come into the pits. Heavy front end damage on the front of Yang Ji Lin. But now Pinero under pressure from Reese. Pinero has lost the lead, gained the lead. It is about to lose it all over again. Reese heads to the inside line, makes the move done before turn number 20, the kink, before we head into the chase. And Maney in third. He's starting now to get involved. Pinero looks very much under threat at the moment. As we have a look at to see what happened to Lynn. He heads down through Skyline. He's going to now hit the brakes. All looking fairly good. Is he going to hit the inside wall? No, he's just, the car's bottomed out and sent him heavily into the wall there. Steve, and a disaster for Lynn.
Yeah, part of it, I think, is cold tires going through the S's, force elbow right there. He bottomed out, and that was it.
So Pinero in second place tries to get past Reese. Maney pulls out as well. Very almost oval-esque racing. We've got two lanes. Pinero and Marnie both on the inside line. In the background, the 44 car. That's Naselli making a move on Simones. Can't find... Naselli finds a way through. It's Jorg Maney now finding his way past Reese. So Pinero takes the lead. Maney in second. Reese in third. And Naselli in fourth place. But the Masters, I think that's the biggest storyline so far. Steve, the Masters really showing their experience counts. I think Fritzscher and Mayer, though, might have had a little bit of an issue heading through the cutting turn four. Still falling down. Nunez finds its way past Elson as well. Fritzscher starting to get moving, and then you can see him moving very slowly through turns 5 and 6. But the Masters are doing such a good job at the moment.
Yeah, Antonio was really strong last season, and Monty was always up running for the win. And with him being promoted to Masters this season, it's going to be an interesting Masters race for the season between him and Reese, and usually Murakami's going to be right there too.
I think there were 3 wide heading towards Skyline corner, but they all have to now form an orderly queue as they head down the hill towards the final corner, Forest Elbows, and then that's when the racing can very much get underway once again. 2-1-2 of Alan McCain. What can he do? He's got the wounded car of Fritzscher up ahead of him, the 43. We've seen, well, Fritzscher losing a few positions on this lap, and you can evidently see the damage to the front right of his car. Steve, how much does that affect the car? And you know, if it's going to affect the car at any track, it's certainly going to be around Bathurst.
Yeah, if he can stay in the draft and the car in front of him, then it won't be too bad. Once he drops back a little ways and loses some of that draft, then he'll start dropping like a rock. But coming into the chase there, you're going to see it time after time after time. That's where the passes are going to be set up, and also going up that mountain straight to turn 2 to the quarry. It's going to be up. We got another spinner.
Oh, that's Wager in the wall. Drivers having to go on the grass on the exit of the final corner to avoid the number 22. Everybody, though, gets away, apart from Wager, who, unfortunately for him, will be out of the race. And this is the replay, so he's battling up ahead. Can't quite catch the number. So braking towards... Oh, he's caught the inside. This is exactly... Steve, what you were saying in qualifying, we've seen it before and we've seen it again.
Yeah, you get too much of that inside curb, it lifts that inside tire, and there goes the balance, and you're going around.
Oh, another crash. That was Lasky heading firmly to the wall and then firmly back to the pits. Quarry corner catching out another driver. Favini getting past McCain in the back and in the foreground as we see Ritzter tries to go around the outside. Now that's Gradwell. So Lesnoy going very slowly, I think. Yeah, Lesnoy going very, very slowly up through the cutting. And can we have a look? This is Gradwell, the 909 car. So this is, once again, down towards Quarry Corner, turn 2, uphill braking. And Gradwell's just going to arrive on the scene. Well, there's one car, and I think then there's just going to be a slow car up ahead of him, of Lesnoy. And yeah, Lesnoy, I wonder if he's picked up a little bit of damage earlier on. Steve, you just hear the crunching of bodywork as they all head down the hill. I'm not quite sure if they're touching the wall a little bit or just bottoming out. It's such a huge elevation change. But mainly,
yeah, they tend to bottom out on those. There's some pretty good bumps there going across, and the S's, and then through Forest Elbow. So you'll hear them bottoming out some there.
Mainly though, doing a superb job in the race lead. You can see he's up 4 places from where he started, but Bertoni has to take the prize so far for the most places gained, up 22 places. Superb job by him. We head into the chase as we have a look at Bertoni. Next up on his list will be Andrea Favini, the lead in the Spec 2 class. Bertoni 10th in class. That's a little bit of fuel saving going on there for Bertoni. So are we going to see another Barber-esque race where fuel saving really makes or breaks the winning strategy?
We might see some fuel saving, sure, to shorten the pit stops, but that's going to be about it. You're not going to see anybody go without a pit stop in this one. The Bertoni, you missed us last season, and we had the Bertoni watch. He'd start in the back, and every race would be 20, 30 positions up at least. So the Bertoni watch continues this season.
Well, it most certainly does. Wow, look at this for a train for the race lead. You see the lead of the pack is now Pinheiro. Pinheiro has taken the lead off Marni. Naselli in 3rd, Reese 4th, Simones 5th, and Green in 6th. So 6 cars battling for the race lead. And well, I don't think you could ask for much more when it comes to racing action on a Sunday night. Naselli, though, riding the curb a lot through the uphill section. We now dip quickly back down as we head through the final penultimate corner before we get to Skyline. I just have to wonder, Naselli, you know, he wasn't as quick as we maybe necessarily would have expected him to be in qualifying, but, you know, Naselli's always a good racer. Do you think
they're in the race? Yep.
I cannot wait to find out. This is going to go down to the wire. 9 minutes out of 40 gone in round 3.
Well, I'll tell you what, in the U.S., we've got our Talladega with NASCAR this weekend, and the Spec Racer Weekend Warriors, we've got our own version of Talladega here. You're going to have passes every lap coming down here into the chase, just like that, and coming up the front straight to the quarry. It's going to be every lap you're going to see draft and pass, draft and pass.
Draft and pass. Well, Pinheiro, the real loser in that, started the straight in 3rd, finds himself, started the Conroe straight in 1st, now finds himself in 3rd and under pressure from Reese in 4th. Reese likewise finds himself under pressure from Simones. Green lurking a little bit further back in the distance, but don't count him out whatsoever. Carter gets past Cantor further down the field. That's for 24th and 25th place overall. So Maney once again leads this fight as we see Cantor defending from Nelson. So Carter finds his way through. Marcus Burkett is into the pits. The first driver, to my knowledge, who is coming to the pits. Actually, Carter is the only other driver to come into the pits that's in the top 25. So Burkett deciding to go early. Haratsky, he's starting to get involved in that top 6 battle. He's about 5 seconds off green, but don't count Haratsky out whatsoever. We ride on board with Wobol as we head through turn 1, Hell Corner. And Steve, what a sight. You've got, you know, you've got the mountain straight up ahead of you. You're rising up the hill. There's no better place to be driving a spec racer Ford.
It's a gorgeous track. It's fun to drive. It's challenging. It's got a little bit of everything. Like you said, you can't ask for more.
Oh, big crash. Sorry to cut across you there, Steve. That's Elton and Rodriguez both in the wall on the exit of the cutting. Griffin's Mount turn 6 is where they came. A cropper, and Rodriguez has got a fairly substantial amount of damage to his car.
That could have been just to follow the leader. If you're tucked in drafting somebody and they hit the wall, you go with them. So we'll see what happens.
We have a look at the replay heading into the.
There you go. Yeah, Steven Nelson went a little wide, and Jesus kind of followed him into the wall. But that was a risky pass.
It certainly was. Don't tend to see many successful overtakes into the cutting turns 3 and 4, but we ride back on board live pictures. Oh, Haraski's off the track, and that's at a disastrous point for him. He's got to find reverse, which he does. He's got another car coming. That's through the dipper, where, well, it really lives up to its name. Huge elevation drop, and you see he's already parked on the apex there, and then everybody's just filing through, really thread the needle stuff. So he's found reverse, and then I think he's going to end up hitting the wall once again. Haratsky, though, has got going again, but weaving a little bit on the Conrod straight. I'm wondering if he's picked up a little bit of suspension damage. Naselli, though, is your new race leader, but, well, it's almost
we're going to have many changes.
Race leader. I mean, if somebody's off the track there, it's going to have to be so careful to rejoin. Yes, he just managed to canter. You are right. Steve gets away with that incident, but so close to wiping out a few cars. It's once again, this battle for the lead just continues to build. Green falling away, so it's very much now a 5-car battle for the race win.
How awesome is that, huh? All 5 cars just in tow going up. You'll see single file up the mountain, across, back down, and then it'll be all out down the Conrad Straight and the draft to see who wants to take the next lap.
Yeah, do you want to be leading this race, or are you fairly happy being in second or third?
That's what I was going to comment on earlier. These guys are trying to figure out where they want to be for that final lap. Definitely don't want to be in the front on that final lap coming down that final straight. You're going to be shuffled to the back of this pack. But remember, we got pit stops, and that will usually break up the pack somewhat.
Yeah, if this race wasn't exciting enough, add a little bit of pit stop action into the mix, and well, we'll just have to see if we can contain ourselves in the commentary booth. Marnie having a little bit of a look down the inside into Forest Elbow. Not really going to find your way past Naselli there, but almost stating, I think, Maney was stating his intentions to get past Naselli on the Conrad Straight as they all filed down. Maney pulls to the outside, so does Pinero. Pinero has to back out. Reese, though, has no such quarrels. He sends it down the inside at the first part of the chase. Will Reese try to go all the way around the outside into the first part of the chicane? Well, Naselli's run a little bit wide. That's going to make Reese's job a little bit easier. They're side by side in the background. Now, Reese has got the inside line heading into Murray's corner, the final corner. Reese just has to back out of it. I thought Pinero was going to make a move down the inside. Couldn't find his way through, but that has really helped out Jorg Maney, because he has now got an 8-10 gap between himself and Naselli. Is this Maney's opportunity just to run away with his lead, or do you think the draft is so strong, Steve, that Naselli will be able to easily catch back up once again?
Yeah, we get on this straight, and by the time we get up into the quarry turn 2 and stuff, those guys will run Monty back down.
The draft is just proving to be so powerful, but Naselli under pressure from both Reese and Pinero up towards Quarry Corner. Naselli manages to hold firm, so it's Naselli in second place, Reese third, Pinero fourth, and Simones in fifth, but Simones is the final car in the train. Megan Overstreet doing a good job at the moment, catching up to Bobby West.
Yeah, like I said, Megan is a new one this season. She's doing a really great job. She races in the Formula V League that precedes this. So good to see some of our lady racers come out and doing so well.
Right, yeah, especially after driving the Formula V, which isn't a really, it's quite a drastically different car to the spec racer Ford.
Yeah, you get some of the racecraft. That car really stresses the racecraft because it's slow, and you just got to really worry about car placements and everything. That can transfer very well into this car, but you've got more power and a little more different tactics in this car as well.
16.5 minutes gone out of the 40-minute race here today. Riding on board with Alan McCain as he rose over the crest of Skyline down through the S's and just didn't have the confidence in the front end of the car that, you know, that maybe Maney might have, but he is our Spec 2 race leader, so certainly doing a great job in his class, finding himself 12th place overall as well. Pinheiro, though, made his way up into third, but once again, the Masters just showing that experience really counts around Bathurst, and, you know, Maney and Reese really, you know, very much in contention for the overall race win today.
Yeah, I don't think Antonio has got a race win overall with the Weekend Warriors as a Masters driver. Monty had race wins last season as a Spec 1 driver, so he's there. He can get it done as a Masters.
That gap, though, between Marnie and Naselli starting to reduce once again. Naselli back now within 0.4 of a second. Pinheiro trying to get past his teammate of Naselli up towards Quarry Corner. Jorg Marnie still leads this race. I do believe, in fact, he's got the most laps led of today's proceedings so far.
Any one of these guys are going to be able to pull out a win. It's just how the pit stops break them up, and if they get back together afterwards, like I said, all 5 of them are so much locked in step there that any one of them can pull out a win in this.
And talking of pit stops, what would be your strategy? Is it a race that you really just have to follow what everybody else is doing? Because if you lose the slipstream by pitting early or staying out, you know, too late, you're just going to be nowhere in terms of pace.
Yeah, this one you really, like I said in the qualifying, you need a draft partner. If you do an early pit stop by yourself and come out by yourself, you're going to lose too much. You almost need to follow the group when they come in for a pit stop.
Steve Alston finds his way past Stephen Mitchell up towards Quarry Corner turn 2, which is proving to be a really good overtaking opportunity on the circuit. And then we head up the hill through Griffin's Bend. So much trust in the car. Oh, there's a car off. That's Alan McCain. McCain is off. Your Spec 2 race leader finds himself facing the wrong way. He's in the wall. There he is. He'll find reverse. He's got 2 cars following or barreling down at him at a rate of knots. McCain gets away, manages to get past. Oh, the 318. That's Mark Carter. He, I think, grazed the wall. Thought he was going to end up having a bigger accident. Manages just about to get away with it. Does Mark Carter. But Alan McCain falling further down the order. And McCain, I tell you what, Steve, talk us through. Oh, he's already sideways. Yeah, and you just see heartbreak.
Hands the lead of the Spec 2 class over to Aaron Bakley. And speaking of, for those that aren't real familiar with the Weekend Warriors, you can tell what class they're in over on the left side. The yellow for Monty and Reese is the Masters guys. The red for Naselli, Pinheiro, and on down are the Spec 1. The green for Vaguely, Short, Gibson. Those are your Spec 2 drivers.
Here comes Naselli, pulls to the inside, tries to get past Jorg Marnie, but Pinheiro has a look as well, tries to follow his teammate through. Maney, though, stays strong, or tries to be, but has to apply the brakes mid-Quarry Corner, turn 3. Oh, they're going to go 3 wide in the background. Reese trying to capitalize, but cannot find a way through. But who has capitalized is Simones. He is now up into 4th place. Reese tried to be aggressive and tried to surprise Pinheiro, but it ended up being Simones surprising Reese. So Naselli, Maney, Pinero, Simones, Reese, your top 5, all separated by less than 2 seconds with 20 minutes to go, just over halfway.
Yeah, Felix Simoes has just been following that group for a while, kind of waiting for his chance. So there it kind of opened up and he moved up, but Simoes is going to be there. He's also a previous race winner.
He certainly looks like he has the pace at the moment. Further down the order, we have Bobby West trying to find his way past Murakami, but he's got the high flyer of Bertoni right behind him. Bertoni up 28 places from where he started. So if you are Bobby West, you know that the driver behind you has got some pedigree when it comes to getting those overtakes done. In fact, you can see Bertoni so confident through Forest's elbow. Naselli loses the race lead. West and Bertoni. West on the outside, Bertoni on the inside. He's going to try and get the inside line heading towards the King. You see West has got the slipstream off Murakami, but Bertoni's gaining ever so slightly. West, though, tries to hang on to 9th place. Now Megan Overstreet is getting involved in on the action. She now becomes the de facto train leader. And then it's Murakami West as we see Bertoni dive into the pits. That looked like a very late decision from Bertoni. He briefly overtakes the rest of the pack, but that's just because the pit lane is just a little bit, well, the pit entry is a shorter way of making it round the final corner. Maney back in the race lead. Naselli and Pinero, they're having a little bit of a scrap, but Jorg Maney, he's doing such a good job at the moment to retake the race lead every time he loses it. And look at that, Simoes in 4th place, defending from Reese, manages to get away with it. Gibson as well, Steve, into the pits. This race is unfolding fairly beautifully.
Yeah, Manny keeps trying to lead that pack. It would be history for the Weekend Warriors to have a Masters driver get the overall win. So look out. I think Manny is on a mission.
It certainly looks that way at the moment. 23 minutes gone, 17 to go. Wild Bolt, another driver, deciding that this is the time to come into the pits. But the 925 got, oh, he touched the wall on the entrance to Skyline Corner. A big puff of smoke flew up into the air. That cannot help Mania's race-winning chances one bit. We've already seen one contender lose it and end up backwards. Jorg Maney, it's so easily done here, but these cars are fairly fragile.
Yeah, if you don't hit it too hard, you get away with it, and it looks like he might have got away with that one.
But you certainly do not want to be doing that too often. Naselli actually losing a little bit of ground as we see West makes their way past Overstreet. Bobby West on the outside gets the move done. Murakami getting involved, so Murakami's lost 2 places now, tries to get past Overstreet. Megan Overstreet lifting off a little bit there, or I wonder, Steve, is that a little bit of damage? Because Megan isn't, I think she's just lifting off, not really wanting to fight.
No, she's trying to have a smart race. Just, she knows these guys are fast, and we got the leaders in the pits.
Naselli and Pinero both coming to the pit road at the exact same moment. Maney, Simoes, Reese.
Yep, teammates coming into pit together so they can go out together, and like I said, you don't want to leave the pits and be by yourself, so they took care of that.
Yeah, the advantages, of course, of having a teammate in the proceedings. So what can Jorg Maney do? What can Simoes? What can Reese do? Do they decide to cover off Pinero and Naselli's pit, I wonder, or do they, hang firm to their predetermined strategy? 25 minutes gone, so we're over halfway in today's race. You see, actually, the 2 teammates are up ahead of these 2, of Gradwell and Vaguely. Gradwell ahead of Aaron Vaguely, but Naselli and Pinero, they've come out in 7th and 8th overall, about 29 and 30 seconds respectively behind Jorg Maney. very, very interesting in how this race is going to play out. Nicelli leads Pinheiro. It's all about who can get the best out lap, or who can get the best in lap. If you are Maney, if you are Samoes, what does your gut feeling say, Steve? Is it a race that you can undercut the driver? Is it an overcut race, or is it much of the same?
Well, that's a tough one. I know that Pinheiro and Nicelli are hoping for the undercut. They've got some clean tracks, so they might have a good shot at it. When these guys decide to pit, if they come out with some traffic, it's going to play right into Pinheiro and Nicelli's hands. So it's kind of the roll of a dice if you come out with a pack or not.
I think that's what Maney will be banking on, that if he does make the pits, he'll either come out ahead of Nicelli, or at least, you know, just with some form of slipstream up ahead of him. Samoes, though, very much the meat in the top three sandwich. They all dive to the pit lane, so Maney, Samoes and Rees all decide to come into the pit lane. So who has mastered their pit entry? And that can be so crucial, isn't it? How late you brake to get down to the pit speed limiter. That can really dictate whether you win or lose out of a pit stop sequence.
Well, there's no limiter on these cars, so you're totally in manual mode with your foot on the throttle to maintain that pit speed.
Everybody heads into their pit box. Rees, did Rees get a little bit confused there? Because he
kind of looked like it, didn't it? Yeah.
So
and he dictated that pit stop. He when he decided to pit, then those two had no choice but to go with him.
Pinheiro heading around turn one. He's ahead of Nicelli, but there is Samoes in third. So Samoes has gone out a lot earlier. York Miney still in the pits. 30 seconds have gone by as he got damage to that car that he has to repair, because he is really not getting away from his pit box. You see him there just stationary. Some gremlins must have crept in for the 925 car. There's Murakami exiting the pits.
Boy, I don't know what could have happened to Monty, because the repairs are kind of a quick repair. It's instant, so you don't usually sit there for a repair. But boy, that's a tough one. I don't know what happened to Monty.
Very, very intriguing. I wonder if that little bit of a touch of the wall that we saw at Skyline at corner came back to haunt him. But Samoes now finds himself very much in the lead of this race, or what will be the lead once Green and West come into the pits for their pit stop, unless they're feeling particularly adventurous and try to make their way without stopping, although I think that's a fairly tall order around the Bathurst circuit.
Yeah, you won't do it this race without stopping, but like we talked earlier, Samoes was sitting there in fifth at the back of that group saving fuel. And it looks like he had a quicker pit stop because of that, and it put him out front. He was stopped the shortest of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, you can see the pit times. Samoes with an 11.4 second stop, and, well, Mani with a 53.3.
Yeah, poor Mani.
For the 925 entry. Nicelli really almost pushing his teammate down the back straight. They're very much working together, just using the overspeed that they gain from the slipstream to try and catch up to Samoes. Samoes leads by just under a second. Green heads into the pits for his pit stop. Does Bobby West feel the need to do the same? Yes, he does. So West managing to go one lap longer than the leading pair. So too has Green, but they will head to the pits and vaguely getting past Marnie. So Marnie just really not having the best of races after that pit stop, and the phrase when it rains it pours comes to mind for Marnie. Under pressure now from Vaguely, so Vaguely really harassing and harrying him down the Conrod straight.
Yeah, Aaron I think he's tucked in trying to help push Monty. He knows Monty's fast, so he's just going to try to stay with him and see if he can gain a few more positions courtesy of Monty's pace. But yeah, poor Monty, he had a chance to set Weekend Warriors history, and something just went really wrong in that pit stop.
serious case of Marni's pit stop. I think will have to be investigated after the race. McCain, another driver that, you know, was really having a good run of form, was leading the Spec 2 class. Now finds himself down in 3rd overall, but with 2nd place, Ian Gibson right ahead of him. Gibson pulls to the inside to try and, well, break the toe. In fact, that's Horatsky. He was the trendsetter, you could say, through the, well, on the start-finish straight, which Gibson then followed, and McCain decided against really following that slipstream, but down the back straight we go, up towards Quarry Corner, turn 2. Horatsky just providing enough of a slipstream for Gibson that Alan McCain is finding it fairly difficult to make his way through. McCain pulls to the inside, he's going to have to do it under braking, gets the move neatly done before the apex of turn 2. And now Delago pressurizing Gibson. Gibson is going to have to try and find his way, well, try and stay ahead, I should say, around the outside of the cutting. But Delago gets the move done under braking, and Gibson's lap might go from bad to worse is short. Now tries to find his way past Ian Gibson.
If you look on our timing tower, that's all 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the Spec 2 class fighting it out there to see who's on the podium.
Gibson started this lap in 2nd place in the Spec 2 class, finds himself currently in 4th with Short right behind him, trying to even take that from Ian Gibson. Go down the hill. Oh, so much car control that you need in these Spec Racer Fords. So much throttle control as well. Everybody managing, though, to execute that sublimely towards Forest Elbow, one of the difficult corners on the track. It's deceptively difficult. Talking of deceptively difficult, it is to win a race around here, especially in a car that is so dictated by slipstream. Pinero and Naselli, they've worked together. They've caught 2 Samoas. They have, and it's really 2 against 1. But at what point do the gloves come off between Pinero and Naselli, and it becomes every man for themselves in the fight for the race win?
They will work together up till the last lap. And we get into that last lap to the draft, especially going down that last straight. If they're 1-2, it's gloves off to see who can get it. But they're going to work together, keep swapping positions to stay with Samoes. And yeah, you're right. It's 2 against 1 right now.
Certainly would not like to be your race leader at the moment. What can Samoes do? Can he hang on to win the race? Will he make it a 3rd different race winner, I wonder? As they head up towards Skyline Corner, the track falls away from them once again for the 15th time of asking here today. You see the last few laps, well, 5/10 gained on the last lap. Pinero gained over Samoes. Delago getting past Rodriguez. Rodriguez falling through. And vaguely as well, McAvery finding his way past, and I wonder, has vaguely just had a little bit of an issue? I think he has. That's up through turns 2 and 3, the cutting. He heads towards Griffin's Bend. I think vaguely another driver just to fall foul of the tricky opening sort of mounting section here at Bathurst.
Yeah, Aaron's got to get it back under him. Vaguely is leading the Spec 2, but it's not what it's. Oh, he's got a 9-second lead back to McCain, but he keeps bouncing off that wall, and it won't last long.
No, and if there's any lasting damage to Vaguely's car, then that might just give Alan McCain a little bit of hope. See, Bertoni getting overtaken by Bobby West. Coming up on our timing software there, Bertoni's had some form of issue. I think he's another driver that's made a fond acquaintance with a wall. This is Skyline Corner. He's going to touch the inside wall. No, he's going to hop across that curve. Oh, he's just about managed. It's the dipper.
Yeah. Oh,
huge impact there for Bertoni.
He kept bouncing off the curves.
He was pushing his luck. I think that's fairly. I don't think I mind us saying that too much. Bertoni at one point was at 32 places, but finds himself back into the pits. Overstreet, another driver, I think, falling a little bit foul of the track limits. This is up towards Morris Corner, the final corner we saw drivers already making a mistake here. Oh, and it's not going to be the curve that's going to cause it, just simply a little bit too much speed.
Yep, trying to get too much drive off onto that final straight to stay ahead of the guys in front of her.
You know, we're seeing, you know, drivers starting to make a few more mistakes as we get to the closing stages of the race. How mentally taxing and draining is a race around Bathurst, especially in these cars?
Yeah, it's really one of the more draining. You've got to keep concentration, and this one is just, you let concentration slip just a little bit, and like you saw with a while ago, that you bounce off the curbs and you're into the concrete wall. It is so difficult to maintain that level of concentration for 40 minutes.
So 36 minutes gone in today's race. Who will be the race leader? Will it be a first race win of the season for Samoes? First race win of the season for Pinheiro? Will Niseli be able to take his second? I wonder. Before we find out, Pinheiro though gaining in the slipstream, pulls to the inside, tries to get past Samoes, and Pinheiro will take the de facto race win. What can Samoes do though? Will he stay behind? Will he try to send it down into the chase chicane? So Pinheiro
I have to wonder if Felix was lifting a little bit there to let Pinheiro go through, because I got a feeling that Samoes doesn't want to be leading.
I think you're spot on there. I think it's all about who is second in the train.
Yeah, you're leading, you're out front, you do a little bit of lifting, and the cars behind you have enough momentum that they almost don't have any choice but to come on around you. So that could have been some of the racecraft that Felix Samoes is playing.
Before we get to the final lap of the race, quick shout out from our sponsor, and RaceVoice is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the Weekend Warrior Spec Racer Ford Racing Series. Take your driving to the next level with the on-track audible performance alerts with RaceVoice. Hear miles per hour, turn entry and exit speeds, upshift alerts, and other performance metrics which are selected and configured by you. You can go faster with the speed of voice. Niseli finds his way up into second place. Samoes in third. And if it was
Samoes could be in trouble now. Yeah, Niseli can block a little bit for his teammate there, so I don't think Samoes wanted to drop all the way back to third.
One car ahead of him was going to be a barrier enough to get the race win, but two. It's going to be an uphill battle for Felix Samoes to get the win.
It could be trouble, but the good thing on Felix's side, he's going to have a double car draft going down the long straight, so he's going to have a little bit more momentum than what Niseli's going to have.
Reese as well, another sort of early contender for the race win, falling back a little bit. Oh, a big snap of oversteer from Samoes through Forest Elbow. That's not what he needs at this phase of the race, and he sees Niseli just starting to fall or drift further away from him. Niseli, I think it is going to be a battle between Pinheiro and Niseli for the race win. Will it be the double this season for Niseli, or can Pinheiro promise, deliver what he promised by getting the pole all the way back at Tsukuba? Niseli is your new race leader, Pinheiro second, and this is going to go down to the wire, Steve.
Yeah, it sure is. That was a planned pass right there to pull away from Samoes a little bit, but this time it's going to be all out coming down that final straight.
White flag, 1 to go here at Bathurst, and Antonio Reese, I think, was always hoping, expecting that we'd have a fewer lap. I think he's having to do almost the walker or the drive of shame heading into the pits on the final lap of the race just to get enough fuel to get across the start-finish line for the final time. Niseli in the race lead, Pinheiro in second. I'd be surprised if Marco decides to go and overtake his teammate into turn 2. He knows that the best opportunity to win this race will be out of Forest Elbow down towards the chase.
Yeah,
And
he's
it's
going to
all-
stay lockstep in behind Maselli till we get there. But I think Antonio may have overstepped his incident limit and have to do the drive through the pit right there in the last, which is a shame. He didn't stop for fuel or anything, so I think he just had to do the drive through.
a big shame for Reese. Only loses one player to actually make that two. West just about getting his way past Antonio Reese. And it's all now about the battle between your two drivers who will be on the top step of the podium. Over Skyline we go for the final time in today's proceedings. Pinero just needs to stalk the back of Naselli, just mimic exactly what his teammate does. He doesn't need to make any moves through this section. It's all about just keeping within contention, keeping Naselli within grasping range as they exit Forestalvo. It's a good run from Pinero. He's got the best run out of Forestalvo I think we've seen all day. Naselli very much on the back foot. He's going to go to the extreme outside. He's going to allow Naselli, or Pinero I should say, to get the inside line. What can Naselli do though? He'll try and stick it all the way around the outside, try to send it, almost hope that he can make his way past onto the chase. Pinero briefly blinks out, having a little bit of a connection issue, but Marco Pinero not under threat at all from Naselli into the braking zone of the chase. And now only one corner stands in the way between Pinero and his race win. Naselli didn't really put so much of a fight up for the race win. I wonder if he knew that it was almost in vain, but Pinero weaves across the line. He will take the race win. Naselli across the line in second place. Samoes, what has happened to him? Very, very slow. Is he running out of fuel? I wonder. Well, he's going to just about limp across the line, and Green will be in third. But Samoes, and that would account for why. That would account for why he had such a quick pit stop. It was 5 tenths quicker than everybody else, and is that? And Reese as well, very much out of fuel.
Yeah, he got a little close. Murakami's coming, but I think, I don't know. Antonio's going to make it. Just make it. Those guys are almost like teammates. They run together all the time, so.
As we see Aaron Vaguely will come across the line to win in Spec 2. Congratulations to him. Oh, there's a car off in the final corner. Is that McCain who is fallen off the circuit? It was. So Alan McCain trying to push and get every last tenth of a second just to hope that he might be able to catch Vaguely. Ended up falling off the track at the final time. If asking, actually no, it was contact between himself and the 964 car. Oh, so Huratsky has gone off the circuit. This is through the chase. McCain also falling or foul of the track limits ever so slightly. And McCain, is he going to brake a little bit too late into the final corner? Oh yeah, lock the rears. Car goes round.
Yep, too much speed into it. He was trying to make sure he stayed ahead of Haraski. Each position, even though it's not the same class, each position on track is worth more points. So that's what they're holding for.
And even if it wasn't worth more points, then, you know, racers are always going to race each other, especially when it's the final lap. And, well, there is your race winner, Pinero. I wonder if he's a little bit out of fuel as well. And actually, this is the one race that you want to finish with a little bit more fuel than necessary, because everybody who has ever driven Bathurst in iRacing wants to do the jump at the end of the Conrod Straight. And I know people that have fueled extra just so they can, after the race, do the jump. And I think that's exactly what we're about to see.
Everybody said it. Yep. We always do our demo derby, so the chase is going to be the jump for the demo derby.
Here are confirmation of your race results, and Marco Pinero takes his first race win of the season to make it 3 different winners from three races. Maurizio Naselli finishes in second place with Felix Samoes in third. Jason Green just outside of the top 3 in fourth place with Bobby West. A great race from him. Finishes in fifth. Jeff Fritzter in sixth place with Steve Elson in seventh. He was up 14 places from his race start. Antonio Reese, well, it will be some consolation for him. He wins in the Masters category, but Reese, if he didn't have that slow pit stop, What could have been his fortunes today, I wonder. Chris Murakami in 9th. Andreas Bertone, even after that incident, finishes 28 places higher than he started. He finishes in 10th. Megan Overstreet 11th. Jorg Miney in 12th. Jorg Miney, another driver to have a slow pit stop. Marcus Burkitt 13th. Jerry McAvery 14th. Kurt Nunez 15th. Aaron Vagley 16th, and the race winner in the Spec 2 class, Tom Gradwell 17th. Miro Haratsky in 18th place, and that is Steve Elson doing his best jump impression. And once again, I will say it, I think the drivers will be so glad that they don't have to pay their damage repair bills. Brian Shaw in 19th, Ian Gibson 20th place, Jesus Rodriguez 21st, Jeff Cantor 22nd, Michael Nelson 23rd, Tobias Delago 24th, Gary Walpole 25th, Alan McCain in 26th place. Alan McCain actually does lose a few places after that spin at the end. Paul Jackson 27th, Stephen Mitchell in 28th place. Andrea Favini is 29th, Ken Bately in 30th place. And the final driver to finish on the lead lap, then Ken Bately, Joshua Justice won that down in 31st. Then Mark Carter, our first retiree, 5 laps down. Lesnoy, Kern, Latsky, Yin, both are also retired, with Mayer and Wager not taking the start of today's proceedings. But what a race that was, Steve. Bathurst certainly did not fail to deliver.
No, we knew we were going to have a good one. It knew it was going to be a shootout, and with those two main draft straights where the passing was always going to be, you never know who was going to lead the next lap.
As we see a very broken 944 car of Jeff Cantor. Let's have a chat to, I think, some of our drivers from today. And I want to start with your 3rd place finisher, Felix Samoes, and let's bring him in to the commentary booth. Felix, welcome to the commentary booth. That was, I mean, it was also close to you getting your first race win of the season. Fell away from you at the end, but a great race from your side.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't expect it to go that well. But yeah, during the race, I built my pace, the momentum, and I was like, okay, I can keep up with these guys, and I was saving fuel, and all that fuel saving, yes, I was, my stop was probably shorter than the other guys, but the fuel calculations were done with too much fuel saving, which meant I didn't put enough fuel. So I had finished a couple of laps saving fuel. But,
yeah, we noticed you sort of spluttering across the line, but you didn't end up losing any places. I mean, how crucial was it to stay in the slipstream? How much of a slipstream race was it today?
Yeah, it was a bit. It was important. For example, I was chatting with Mani during the race, and because he was pushing in front, so that you have an idea, I had almost one full lap of fuel more than he had. So it was a lot. It was really, really important. But the thing is, I didn't just went on the back because I wanted to save fuel. It was because I didn't feel that I was fast enough to push, so there was no point in to going much further. And I could see the front guys in front of me, so.
Wow, it was an absolute pleasure to watch you out on the circuit today. Congratulations on your 3rd place. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to at all while you're on the broadcast?
Yeah, same as usual. Everyone involved. Great race we do. The organization, Steve, the sponsors, and you guys in the booth, the commentary. It's really good.
Well, thank you very much. And once again, Felix, congratulations on your 3rd place.
Thank you.
As I said, that was your 3rd place finisher. Let's see if I'm going to give you the next interview. I think we might just have Antonio Rees just standing by to give a little bit of an insight into his race.
Hey, Antonio, Congrats
Hey,
on
good
your
night.
Masters. How are you, sir?
you.
Good race.
I'm fine. Yeah, I lost fuel on the way somehow, and the car didn't. And then I stopped to refuel, and then they didn't put any fuel, and then I went out of the pits with no refuel. It was kind of a messy, but anyway, I managed to finish the finish line somehow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we saw you make the drive-through, and I was kind of wondering and made a comment that you might have hit the incident limit, but you don't usually do that, so it was a little confusing. But yeah, no fuel. We saw you kind of coasting through the last, but you didn't lose the position or nothing. So you were up there running with the big boys all day long.
Yeah, it was really fun. I was enjoying a lot until the end. At least was the positive. It still finished 8th, so it was not totally lost.
No, you had a good race, sir. Congrats.
Thank you, Steve. By the way, nice to meet you here on the booth.
Yeah, a little different, huh? Than out on the track. So, anyone
Yeah,
you want to
sure.
give a shout out to?
Oh, I want to give a shout to you first because you are the guy who set up all of these things and taking care of whatever needs. And then for the sponsors, the RaceVoice, they are also very kind to sponsoring this series. And for the all drivers, of course, and the broadcast stuff as well, and for the viewers, everyone is watching. Yeah, thanks to all of them.
All right, thanks for the kind words, Antonio. Good to see you, bud.
Okay, good to see you too.
That was Antonio Reese, your Masters winner.
And heartbreakingly for Antonio, almost the overall race winner. Things just had gone ever so slightly differently for him.
Yeah, could have been. Again, said he's been up there several times chasing that overall win.
And finally, have a chat to your Spec 2 race winner, Aaron. Welcome to the commentary booth. That looked like a fairly frenetic race out there, I think, for all involved. How did it feel from your side?
Yeah, no, like I think the entire group I was fighting with early on, they wrecked each other out in what was it, turn 2 there, and then I think the same lap slammed myself in the wall going down the hill, and it was frantic. I want to say it was Lane McCain. He got past me and then wrecked himself out later on. It was all over the place. It's crazy.
It certainly looked that way from the commentary booth, and it just had a feeling of just, if you could just keep it on the track, if you could keep it out of the barriers, you would have a good result. And I think that your race sort of is testament to that.
Yep, absolutely. By the time I think after McCain spun out, I was just holding behind Tom the rest of the race there. So mostly was just trying to make sure, don't get in a wreck, just keep it on track, make sure I have enough fuel to the end, and that was it.
You certainly did that. And how are you a fan of Bathurst? Because I know it can be quite a decisive track. Some drivers really love the challenge, and others just really don't get along with it. Where are you on that scale?
Well, it's the only track that I've won Spec 2 like 3 or 4 times in the past couple years, so I'd say I like it.
I mean, I think that's a fairly good reason for liking it. I'm not going to lie. Watkins Glen up next, a week's time. Another track that you like?
Oh, Watkins Glen is one of my favorite tracks in the entire service. It's honestly going to be a great race there, I hope, and I think everyone will have fun there, I hope.
So you're having a really good run of races so far then. Well, we wish you the absolute best, Aaron. And before we let you go and celebrate, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to at all?
Honestly, shout out to all of my stream viewers. You guys are awesome.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for taking the time to come to talk to us in the commentary booth. And once again, congratulations on your victory today.
All right, thank you.
And that was Aaron Vaguely, your Spec 2 race winner. And well, Steve, how do you possibly sum up that race? It was, how?
I think you kind of nailed it. The whole key to that was just survival. You just stay on the track, stay in the draft, don't make any mistakes, and you're going to have a decent finish. And that seems to be the theme of this track, season after season.
Certainly will. Well, as I alluded to, 1 week, in 1 week's time, we will head to Watkins Glen. But that is us done from the Mount Panorama circuit. I have been Sebastian Boscher-Williams. Alongside me in the commentary booth has been Steve Ray, and Jonathan Grabowski has been fantastic, as always, on the production. But until we see you at Watkins Glen, we say thank you very much, and we will see you again very soon.